Hello, everyone. Today I am back with the Energy Tech Nexus Thunderwatch, which is a live show that we bring to you every Monday to give you the latest on what's going on this week, what happened last week within Energy Tech. And just a quick warning, my son is home today from camp, so I've told him not to come in here, but he's going to absolutely walk in here. Kiana, I'm doing a live. Yeah, use a scissor. Which one? These two. This one's the spicy one. Okay, can you please close the door when you leave? Thank you. But that's the charm of doing a live event at home. That my son was going to walk in, and I'm also waiting for two other people to join me today. We have Ingrid and Marna who are helping us organize the Pilotathon. They're the co-chairs of the Energy Tech Nexus Pilotathon, and Juliana Juliana and Payal, who are working on the co-pilot accelerator program. Last time I know they had issues logging in, and they I see Juliana is here. So I'm gonna
Hello, hello.
hello, welcome.
Sorry, I was trying to link my restream to Facebook and it was like loading, and I'm like, well, maybe this is not the right time to do it. So I
Okay,
linked it to LinkedIn, but not to Facebook yet.
okay, perfect. Yeah, I know because last time I sent this link to people and it wasn't working, so I'm glad it worked. So I wasn't
No,
sure.
it does. It's just that I was like all exciting with the setup, and I'm like, maybe this is not the time to do the setup
Yeah.
since we are live already.
We're live already, exactly. So I'm glad you could join. So just again, as an introduction to people who are joining in, if you're joining us here, please leave a comment. That way we know that you're there. Ask any questions that you have along the way. Today's session is really mostly focused on the Pilotathon and the co-pilot accelerator program that we're launching. The Pilotathon is taking place in September 16th, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that is about. And then the co-pilot accelerator program that we have launched this summer, and the companies that are take part in that program. And Juliana will talk in more details about that. They will be featured in the Pilotathon. So really excited about that. So since Juliana, you're here, maybe we could talk about the co-pilot to begin with. How did this program come about, and what is it really?
Sure. So, Jason and I have been trying to work with climate tech companies, I mean, for the past 10 years, trying to figure out what was really um, preventing them from getting funding. And we realized that in many cases, pilots were the bottleneck, and that there was this PP or pilot purgatory that was going on. And through many programs that we've been mentoring and we created, we've seen that, first of all, it's not only about how you frame pilots. In some cases, I think some of the companies do pilots that are way too big and very difficult to fund. So there's no minimum viable pilot. And then people don't understand that some way they might be doing pilots already. They don't understand how important partners for pilots are. And then, there's one very important thing that is there's a chicken and egg problem with pilots. And it's like, if you don't get funding, you're not able to fund your pilots. But in many cases, pilots are the milestones that are required to get further funding. So it's basically a very difficult problem to solve. And we realized that by outsourcing it and making it a thing, sometimes you might be able to get to fund pilots without having to raise equity. Um, and that was something that we started exploring further. We became very creative with it. We started outsourcing the problems. And that's when we decided that, our main event for the year, the Pilotathon, would be dedicated to that, to pilots. And then we started getting grants also for it, because I think we are not the only ones there realizing it, but many people now associate us with us doing something about it. And we applied for a grant last year, Small Business Administration grant, with a growth acceleration fund competition, and we got a stage one and stage two. And this year we got a second grant to basically build on the work we had achieved by starting last year with this program, and it's expanding it to, we started first in Houston, and this year with the help of IN2 is called the Innovation Incubation Network, that is managed by NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and sponsored by Wells Fargo, gave us a grant to do this co-pilot program, and it's basically expanded on the grant that we delivered on last year, to expand the reach of this program to the Gulf region. So we are very excited to do pilots not only in Houston, but expand it to potentially Louisiana, Atlanta, Georgia, even in Florida. And it's not only about the corporates that we already have on board that are very interested in doing pilots, but it's also about the communities. The theme of the pilots, the pilots and the co-pilot program accelerator is about energy access and resilience. We have a lot of partners out there in the Gulf Coast that have programs that are looking forward to doing that. In some cases, they have funding. In some other cases, there's potential funding coming in, not only from corporates but also cities, development organizations. Also, in some cases, you have um, all kinds of philanthropic partners that are very eager to help. So by outsourcing the pilot problem and making it like a thing, I think we can be much more creative about the ways we fund this.
Hmm. And talk to us a little bit about, the main criteria for selecting companies for the co-pilot program.
So we purposely gave it like very vague criteria. The theme has to be energy access and resilience, and you need to be willing to have a pilot in the Gulf region, and very broadly defined. It's not only the Texas Gulf region, but you can go to other states that are in the Gulf Coast, and trying to figure out whether you're interested in doing a pilot there. As you know, we have a lot of members who are not in Texas. We have a lot of members who are international. Some of them have companies in the US. Some of them are about to create companies in the US, but many of them are still very interested in doing pilots in the US no matter what. So these are companies that can still apply, knowing that, of course, the pilot needs to happen in that region. And that's sort of one of our KPIs. So
Hmm.
you see it there. And I think the beauty of this program is that it's a 9-month program. We're going to, of course, have mentors. We're going to teach you how to create a minimum viable pilot, to make sure you understand what's required for it to be successful. Then you're going to present at the Pilothon, which is going to be a great platform on September 16 during Climate Week for Houston. And then the program, after trying to match make the companies during that event, we're going to see what potential partners out there might be interested, whether it's corporates or some development organization, or some charities or philanthropics, or some of our other partners. And with that, work deeper into that matchmaking to see if an LOI can be created. We can help you also develop that. And the fun part comes after for funding. In some cases, we have some of our corporate partners, and Nada, you can talk about that a little bit more, who are already willing to sponsor. In general, they have their own grant programs and their own pilot programs. But in some cases, those programs are not in place yet. And we would be the ones helping them define it on a case by case scenarios. And maybe this would lead to more generic programs also from their end. So the pilot is going to end. The co-pilot program is going to have another event that is our Energy Tech Market. Our Energy Tech Market happens during Sarah Week. Is one of our biggest events of the year. Last year, we were able to do the final showcase for our Scale Up Hub to Houston program with Canada. We had nine Canadian scale ups. This year would be the the final showcase and pitch event for our co-pilot program too. So very, very excited about showcasing during that event what has been achieved by our companies, not only what they've done during the program, but hopefully they will also be pitching along with their partners and funders if this is the success story. And I'm pretty sure the people from NREL, our sponsors, have already said they're going to come to our pilotathon, and I think I'm pretty sure we will convince them to join us for the final event at Energy Tech Market. And of course, we couldn't have done it not only without their funding, but with also Brown in the Green Space. You see a partner there. um, Carrie Bowie and Brownie the Green Space have been a partner of ours for even before Energy Tech Nexus was created. When uh, Jason and I were at Greentown, we co-created this program Excel with them, and now we are continuing working together under this co-pilot initiative. And they are the ones who are actually helping us expand this to Alabama, um, to Mississippi, they're going to be in Atlanta showcasing and trying to get more companies from those areas. So we're very, very excited about that.
Hmm. Yeah, no, great. Because I mean, this is, again, we hear this from our founders, we hear this from our corporate partners again and again. Fundraising is hard before you've actually shown that you can actually pilot this, your technology actually works. It's solving a big problem for first of a kind hard tech solutions within climate tech. And that's the space really with our pilotathon, we want to make sure that we create a framework that allows companies to better be able to spur pilots, and then get our founding, our partners, our startup members ready. And
Yeah,
so, what kind of criteria are these corporates actually looking for? And from the corporate side, they also be ready with being able to dish out these criteria and be more specific on what
totally.
they need for
So I
pilot.
think if you make a difference between a fundraising program like Liftoff, our program that has been very successful and today has a very important day, Nat, I'm pretty sure you would want to talk about that a little bit too. Uh, but in Liftoff is a fundraising readiness program. We work mainly with our entrepreneurs, with our startups, with our scale ups, trying to figure out how to make sure they are more successful fundraising. In this case, not only we're working with our startups and our founders and our scale ups, but also, most importantly, we're working with our partners that are willing to take in pilots. And I think that has been the biggest bottleneck. It's very difficult for very big companies that have so many processes in terms of safety, procurement, legal, risk, all of that to bring startup scale ups in their premises when there's a lot of risk involved. And even in some cases, there's a lot of different departments involved with very different KPIs that in some cases are not aligned. So, in programs that we've done in the past under other brands and other companies, we've seen that navigating the internal politics for the corporation would be what was much more time consuming than actually working with the startups themselves. And we thought, how can we avoid that somehow? And one of the reasons is like, what about if we outsource those pilots? And they might not necessarily have to happen in the premises of these big companies. And there's a way about that, right? So, for example, this program, what it's doing is like, well, let's create pilots in communities in the Gulf Coast. So it might be a lot easier for a corporation to sponsor a program that is going to be in a certain coastal area of the Gulf Coast, where maybe you have a partner that is willing to put in the land or the building or the space. It can generate a lot more visibility because somehow it could be visited and not behind closed doors. But you can still put your brand out there and potentially get the results of what the pilot is intended to prove. And I think for many of these corporations, they are realize like, well, I might be willing to sponsor that kind of pilot if it's outside my premise because there's a lot less red tape than if it's within my premises and I have to, you know, check with so many other stakeholders internally and externally. So it's a way for us to some kind of accelerate the whole pilot thing by becoming a lot more creative and trying to figure out the how to make the process of piloting more efficient for everybody.
Yeah. And in terms of like the categories, because I know some people were asking, like, if they're working in hydrogen, does that qualify? Like you said, Juliana, we've kept it very broad. It really
Very.
what
Yes.
companies can benefit in. So we've given some examples here. You know, if it could be related to power, it could be buildings, heat supply, renewable, circularity, you know, industry. By that we mean like cement, steel, anything connected to that that makes it more efficient. You know, gives power to gives access to more power that's cleaner, etc. So,
Yeah.
and if you feel like you don't identify with
Yeah. So again, if you don't fit in a box, we love people who don't fit in boxes because um, innovation is always about not fitting in a box. So we've created categories to help you, also to make sure some of our partners, sponsors might want to feel better about, you know, focusing on specific area or not. But if you don't, or you fit in many categories, feel free to just let us know which ones. We're happy to consider everything. We have a steering committee, a selection committee, and we're going to make sure that select the companies not based on the technology, but on the chances of success and us matching you with a pilot that makes sense and all of us being successful. So that is the main criteria.
Yeah, and then in all these, the co-pilot program, like you mentioned, it's an accelerator program. It runs over 9 months, and you will get specific trainings along the way.
Yes. So another question that many people ask is, do I need to be in Houston or do I need to be in the Gulf Coast? The answer is you don't have to, but you're going to try to deploy a pilot in that area, right? So at some point, you're going to have to travel here. Some of the trainings we're going to do, we will make sure we stream for the
I think
companies that
all
are not
training will
able.
be available by Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But some of the events are the ones where we do the matchmaking, and at least the minimum requirement is for you, if you're not around the Houston area, to be able for you to come for our Pilothon and for our Energy Tech Marketing. We already have the dates for those. So September 16, and Energy Tech Market is during CERAWeek next year. So I don't know exactly the date, but we'll put
Yeah,
it
it's
up.
like March 20 something. Yeah, so we'll have
Yes.
dates available for you too. And the training, you know, when you apply for co-pilot and the pilotathon, the trainings will start in August. So mid-August,
Yes.
when we are having training, we have Halliburton from Naviscale, which is powered by Halliburton. They're going to give us some training sessions on manufacturing and supply chain. We have Saudi Aramco that signed up as a partner, and they will provide us training on their pilots. So they'll give us examples of pilots that they've done in the past. Siemens will provide some training on their digital products that they are putting out there for startups. So we already have a lineup from like our partners.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be hard tech only. You can still do software pilots too,
Yeah,
which is
software
the
pilots. And then we'll also train you on pitching, on what exactly is needed. So we have a steering committee with our corporates on what criteria are they looking for a pilot. And we'll
yeah.
make sure that when you're pitching, you include all of that in your pitches. So it's a very intensive program, especially the co-pilot program, where you will
Yes. So
be.
again, this is everything we've been learning that we're trying to bottle and make sure it becomes like a method to the madness, which getting pilots is a sort of an art, like everything we do. But I think there might be a confusion, and I think it's confusing. So granted, between pilothon and copilot, and I think the difference for everybody out here is the copilot is the accelerator program. It's a 9-month program, and we're going to be training you along the way, and we have a specific set of KPIs for you to achieve, like matchmaking with a partner, making an LOI happen, getting funding. And I know that maybe in that time frame of 9 months not everybody will get there, but still, there's milestones. So if you got to an LOI and you at least got halfway through the funding, or there's a promise there, or there's a lot of ways for us to measure success and indicate success. But what happens if you're not selected to co-pilots? Well, the pilothon happens no matter what. This is our big event of the year for Energy Tech Nexus. And if you are not one of the 9, 10 companies selected for our 9-month program, you still have the chance to pitch. Maybe not prepared by us, but we'll still do some preparation calls and meetings to make sure you're very well prepared for Pilothon. But you can still go and pitch and apply to the Pilothon. So right now there's 2 applications open. One is for the Copilot program, that is 9 months, where one of the events of the Copilot program is Pilothon, but not the only one. And then for those of you who might not be selected to Copilot, we will give you the chance to still present to the Pilothon.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can
So
still apply only to
I
that.
think
So
that's an important
yeah.
clarification. You do not have to apply to both because you will be
Yeah.
considered. If you're applying for Copilot, you will be considered. You're basically being considered for the Pilotathon. And the same I'm saying to people who are applying to pitch for the Pilotathon. If you think you're a good match for Copilot, we'll consider you for Copilot also. So don't
Yes.
worry about, and feel free to apply
Yes.
for both too.
I
But
think, we've been trying to figure it out. We opened a Pilothon, this is our yearly event, so we did it last year too. We opened it before we knew we had the grant, and then we realized, okay, so this program is going to be preparation for Pilothon, but then we're going to follow the companies that are part of Copilot and make sure they get to the end of this whole process and they get successful. But right now the application portals look very similar. They're part of the same website. Actually, we still have different paths to make sure that we need to report for this grant, and we need to make sure that they're separate. But we will consider you for as an applicant for both, and we'll make sure you have the best chances. So if you don't get a Copilot, we'll still give you the chance to do Pilothon and make the most out of it.
And I just want to put it out there. Here's the application. You can get to it from our website, which is pilotathon.com. The deadline to apply is 30th of June. So you have, let's say, about a week to get everything in order. Not anything too complicated that we're asking for. But if you have any questions, reach out. We need some information about your team, for example. We want to make sure that you have a solid team in place that can deliver on a pilot. In terms of the product details, we just ask you to kind of self-categorize. And then we have a few questions in terms of like, what problem are you solving? Describing your ideal pilot. What does success look like? And there, we really want you to mention as much as you can the success metrics that you're looking for, because these are going to be important for us to be able to talk with our industry partners about what are they looking for and where there is a match. So as much detail you can give us here, this is really what we're going to use to help evaluate who qualifies for the Pilotathon and for the pilot program.
And I guess another question here is defining a pilot, right? And we've done that in the past. For some people, a pilot could be a minimum viable pilot that requires, I don't know, 50K, 100K. For some other people, it might be a 20 million plan, right? First of a kind. We've seen that when we've done pilot digest in the past. There's a very vague way and a very wide range to interpret what a pilot is. Is it a pilot plan? Is it a minimum viable pilot that you can do? I think we're going to consider everything, knowing that of course it's a 9-month program. There's so much we can achieve. So I think the simpler the pilot, the better. But this is not, this is a program that we're going to continue. We're thinking very hard about doing a first of a kind later on too, and we're developing partnerships already for that. With Project University and Project Finance and other partners. So I think there might be down the line another first of a kind accelerator program coming after this one. And I think we will still continue to run Copilot over the years, because everybody thinks that this is very much needed in the ecosystem. So as always, we're very demand driven, and we look for you at the end of the days to tell us what you need and what kind of works and what can be improved. This is a learn by doing for us too. This is the pilot of our copilots, and we're all learning together.
Yeah. Yeah, so feel free to ask us any questions. We're on here for another few minutes. Any burning questions that you have, but our advice is just apply if you think this is interesting. If you have a pilot idea, there's some people who asked, we're already piloting, but if you want to pilot in a new industry, in a new way,
Yes.
bring it forward to our partners, and soon within the next couple of days, you'll also see some more information on our industry partners. So that
Yeah, I think the beautiful part of our industry partners is that most of them already have pilot programs.
Mhm.
If you talk about Shell, they have Game Changer. If you talk about Chevron, they have Catalyst. Oxy has their pilot lab. So for us, it's more about making sure they get visibility into our companies, what they're pitching, and see if there's a potential match there. And then, of course, to bring other partners down that may not have this kind of programs yet, but we can help them get there by defining their needs and seeing what's out there and what makes sense to them. We're talking to NASA, to Jones Space Center too. They want to partner with us. I think they would be a great candidate for hosting pilots too. So we have a lot of option, and I think just by giving you the visibility, more things are just, and more partners and more potential pilot sites are going to pop just by us doing this program together.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, like, even if you don't get to pitch, because there'll be limited amount of companies that are going to be able to pitch, you should apply to be on the expo the expo floor. So we're going to have a big space available. I think last time we had about 50 companies that expoed. So you can still be there and take advantage of all the industry partners that will be there, all the investors that will be there.
Definitely. We're
Showcase.
never going to let you, hanging. There's always a possibility with us. We're very, very inclusive. So if you don't get accepted to Copilot, you get to pitch at Pilothon. If you don't get to pitch to Pilothon, you get to exhibit at
Mhm.
our event, which gives you, again, a full day of being there. And a lot of those partners are going to be there checking every showcase. A lot of investors. You're going to have visibility around 600, 700 people that day.
Mhm.
If you don't get to exhibit, you still can come. Again, we have a full day program, speaking part in the morning, free showcase for you to attend. You don't have to pay anything. And there's still a lot of networking involved. You can see all of the partners are going to be there. So there's always a way for you to showcase what you're doing just by being there and hustling your way around as good entrepreneurs. So hopefully you'll figure it out. But we always give you an option.
Hmm. Yeah, here's just a quick idea of some of our partners that we're finalizing with. And there are many more who are going to be there representing. So yeah, just apply. And one of the things that we've asked for from our corporate partners is a post engagement. Of course, they're not going to say that based on let's say 10-minute pitch that yes, we're going to do a pilot with you, but they will, if you are a winner of the pilot-a-thon, there'll be some kind of post engagement with one of our partners, with whether that's a field visit, whether that's a visit with
Due
the
diligence. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that we can actually explore if there's something here. And that's something that we want to measure over time, is we're going to do this every year. What kind of post engagement, what are the outcomes people have from pitching at this pilot-a-thon? So
So
I'm
this is
really
not a
excited.
promise for funding and a pilot after this, but there's a promise for strong consideration by the partners
Mhm.
to see if you're suitable for that. So that is already, I think, a big win to be in front of them and potentially to get a pilot and funding down the line if there's a match there.
Yeah. And I think, for us, the main idea here is really how do we improve this process and make it quicker and faster and get more pilots on the ground, because that's the big hurdle that we see for hard tech companies, for most of our
And
members.
being creative about the funding, I think that's key. We are figuring out ways where you might not have to raise VC for getting a pilot funded. And I think there's a lot of ways out there that we are figuring out about making pilots cheaper, faster, and with the right partners. So that's something that we're always going to strive to improve.
Hmm. Awesome. Well, if there's don't seem to be any more questions here, we just wanted to put this out there as general information. The recording will be available on LinkedIn. You can also find it on YouTube, our Energy Tech Nexus channel.
Easy application is not, it doesn't take hours to apply. So in doubt, apply. And Steve, oh, so good to see you. I mean, at least there.
Yes.
Howdy, we miss you here in Houston. I hope you're doing great in Canada, and congratulations on your success. So this is
Yeah, the new funding that you've gotten from the Ocean Cluster in Canada. That's amazing.
that's amazing. It's good to see companies that might not be in Houston with us, but still did our programs and got so much. So we love seeing our entrepreneurs being there and
Yeah.
and continue with us after the programs.
Called eDNA Tech, and they're expanding to Houston. So
Yes,
we're
we're
really
helping them with that. Yeah,
yeah.
awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Juliana. And
Thank you for
we'll
having me.
see you hopefully either next week, or we might take some time off, but we'll be back with another session closer to the pilotathon for any questions people have in August.
We will. I would say hi from Europe. I'm here in Spain to meet with our Spanish partners, and we're going to do a big event in London next week. I'm excited about that too. So we are global. So we want to make sure that all of the opportunities you get are global.
Awesome.